Hey, it's A Humble Collector here, and today's video we're doing something a bit different than what we normally do. I'm going to be showing you guys kind of the first big update on a project that I've been working on since early December of 23, so I've been working on it for a few months now. And that is doing a war game based on the Battle of Vitebsk that was fought in 1944. Now, how I ended up doing the Battle of Vitebsk as the first big war game I've really done ever. I played a couple different war games back in high school and college, but never at the scale I'm doing this one at. It's actually kind of stupid, and I'm going to cut here so you can see. All right, so this is an original 1940 dated map of Vitebsk and the surrounding Vitebsk region. Each of these squares, if I go ahead and zoom in here, each of these squares represents 5 by 5 kilometers of territory. And if we go up to the top here, I'll move the camera, this is the city of Vitebsk itself. Now, Vitebsk was a major rail and road hub, and that's why the Germans wanted to hold it, the Soviets wanted to take it. I thought it would be a neat place for a battle when I saw this map, because, like, oh, like, there's a city, it's on a river, we have, like, these heights and stuff around it. Like, that'd be kind of cool. So what I ended up deciding to do, because I never seem to do projects at a small scale, is I was going to recreate these three squares here, Vitebsk, and then the 5 kilometer squares to the left and right of it, west and east of it. Which means that by the time that this board is done, it is going to be representing 75 square kilometers, which is a lot. So I'll go ahead and cut back to the information I'm able to find on the battle. But really, this is kind of the impetus for putting this together. But yeah, so had that map, and just thought, hey, I can make a fairly accurate representation of Vitebsk. And then I was saddened to find there's basically nothing on the Battle of Vitebsk available in English. In fact, the only real book I could find on the battle is an old one, Vitebsk, The Fight and Destruction of the 3rd Panzer Army by Otto Heidkamper, who was the second in command of 3rd Panzer Army. They were fighting at Vitebsk in 1944. He gets there in, I think, early 1943. There's fighting going on in that region throughout the year, and then when the battle kicks off in June of 44, 3rd Panzer Army is already in a really bad state. They've requested to pull out of Vitebsk multiple times. They get told, no, Vitebsk is a fortress city, you have to hold it. One of the most startling things during my research, because there's actually a really nice listing at the back of this book of all of the units that were attached to 3rd Panzer Army, and from everything I've been able to find in this book, and from the little bit I've been able to glean online, 3rd Panzer Army didn't actually have any Panzer units in it, really, by 1944 when this battle takes place. All their Panzers had either been destroyed or transferred elsewhere on the front. That's not to say they didn't have any assault gun units. A lot of the infantry units had Stugs attached to them. There were like a few heavier like support units. I think there was like 1 or 2 like heavy Tiger companies and maybe a couple of the larger, heavier self-propelled guns. But as far as like Panzer 3s and 4s or any of the basic armor, nothing that I've been able to find, which is kind of shocking. And even like there's a handful of archival footage compilations on YouTube that you can look up for Vitebsk. And if you look at like the destroyed wrecks and everything, you'll notice, yeah, there's a very startling lack of tank wrecks. There's one video that actually had a pretty cool destroyed Schwimmwagen, which was the amphibious version of the Kubelwagen. But yeah, no, it's really like they kind of just had no hope of holding the city of Vitebsk, but they were told that they had to. And, you know, the city got encircled, very quickly fell to the Soviets, and things continued to get worse for the Germans from there. So really what I ended up finding out is after I'd already started putting together the map is that the battle would be very one-sided if we're doing it perfectly historically. Rather than trying to refight the Battle of Vitebsk as accurately as possible, we're creating the map now, and we're going to be doing a division versus division fought along 75 square kilometers of Eastern Front with Vitebsk at the center, and kind of go from there. Soviets are going to have a manpower advantage. They're going to have better air cover and things, but it's more like having the background of the Battle of Vitebsk without trying to recreate it one for one with all of the units that were involved. That's just a bit beyond the scope at this point. Also, there's like no good information about Soviet unit composition that I've been able to find, other than a couple of the fronts that were involved and maybe like a handful of like the divisional numbers. That's about it. German stuff's very well documented in English. I know, or I'm able to pull up like the Leutnants that were attached to certain units in the German side, but the Soviets kind of like a black hole as far as the information I'd be able to find for who was involved in Vitebsk. The rule set we're going to be using is Panzer Korps. This is a divisional warfare system. It can be used at multiple different scales, but we're going to be using it at 3mm scale for this. And what's kind of nice is that this system is based off of each 1 by 1 inch square unit, in this case, would represent a company. So when we transition up to the spare room where I'm building the board, we'll talk a little bit about that. I'll show you guys some of the units that I put together. Okay, so this is the first section of board that I've actually finished. This is the 5 by 5 square that is to the west of the city itself. So I chose to do this board first just because working from left to right, it just kind of made sense. But also, I figured this is a good area that I could make mistakes on as I'm learning how to do this before I get to the center of the city itself, which is going to be a lot of work. But yeah, so what you're seeing here, we have a couple creeks, river up there to our north. And then the two villages here are the villages of Fedorovko and Mishkovo, which is up here. I apologize for the light glaring off the paint there. But yes, we have main road here, 2 rail lines that are actually going to lead into the city itself. We have another main road up here along the river. And what's kind of neat, this area up here is part of the outskirts of the city. And one of the interesting tidbits that I found during my research is that apparently when the Soviets were first getting pushed out of this region earlier in the war, the local communist youth organization burned the city down. So a lot of the pictures I've been able to find of Vitebsk online show just like a ruinscape. And you can tell that a lot of the buildings in the downtown that are still standing, they're scorched, they have holes in the roof. Which actually kind of makes my job modeling it easier because then I can create these little piles of rubble like I have here just out of toothpicks that I painted black for charred timber and then red for, the upright chimneys and things. But yeah, so this is a 48 by 48 inch board. So each inch represents 100 meters. So this is not quite 5 by 5 kilometers. It's technically 4.8 by 4.8. But I try to keep it as square as possible. So things are a little bit crushed here, not perfectly accurate. I admit this map is not even close to being perfectly accurate. It's the best that I could do with my limited skills and material. But I think it's close enough at least to have a fun war game on, especially with how loosely we're going to be really basing this on the actual battle. Now, as far as units go, I have a couple that I have painted up here, and of course, I feel like it is traditional that you'd have to show off some Tiger tanks at some point. If I zoom in here, so this is a 1 inch base that these are on, and if we zoom in here, oh, that picks up the camo pattern actually pretty nice. So each of the Tiger companies I did is painted with a different camo, so I thought that would be fun. But yeah, so each of these bases represents a company, and then for the Panzer Korps rules, really the smallest unit that's going to be moving around a battlefield is going to be battalion level. So you're going to have 3 companies kind of joined together. A lot of different camo patterns really do kind of pop there. I'm sorry, the smaller scale paintings, sometimes they look really dark, but I'm glad they're kind of showing up okay. So as far as units that I have completed at this point, we have 5 companies of Tigers. We also have 5 command units, which are these here that have little staff cars and trucks with them. We also have 5 companies of assault guns. And I've done pretty much all of the artillery at this point. So we have far more than we need. Companies of 10.5 centimeter howitzers, and then a lot of these heavier 15 centimeter howitzers. So infantry-wise, I'm still working on getting all the infantry painted, but we are slowly making our way there. And then, yeah, as you can see, just a tiny portion of this battlefield, those units are taken up. So as far as what's next, we're going to be going to the actual city of Vitebsk itself. And like I said, it's going to be a lot of ruinscape, but there are going to be, I found some nice downtown buildings I think are going to work out pretty well. Of course, the rail depot, since the rail lines are one of the big reasons that Vitebsk was declared a fortress city. And yeah, I'm just going to keep trying to hammer out the actual units while I'm working on this. So as far as the German side goes, I'm doing them first. I chose the 299th Infantry Division as a base, mostly because they seem to have a lot of decent support elements with them. But also, the thing that really stood out to me during my research is they had a unit of Ostvolunteer Cavalry attached to them around the time that Vitebsk was going on. And I am a sucker for cavalry in the Second World War and World War I. I just think they're kind of neat. And that's really not focusing like I want it to, but I'm slowly working on putting together those guys. And once I have the 299th kind of filled out, I'm going to switch over. We're going to be making a Soviet division for them to be fighting against. I haven't decided if I'm doing an infantry division or a mechanized division. I think mechanized could be kind of cool, especially highlighting, as you saw with all the artillery's horse-drawn. I chose to portray it that way. I think it'd be really neat to kind of show how mechanized the Soviets were at this point compared to the Germans. And then, of course, I also have to put together the air support. The German Air Force, the Luftwaffe at this point, is pretty well wrecked. They really don't have a lot of support going into this battle, so it's going to be one of the big advantages the Soviet players have. And then I'm going to talk to the players that are going to be portraying both sides and trying to find some additional like Corps or Army level support that we can kind of give them, some heavier units. So obviously the Germans have a Tiger battalion that they're probably going to be able to bring in. If they want like some specialized like amphibious, like Schwimmwagens, like I talked about earlier being in the one video, or if they want like some Nebelwerfers, rocket artillery, that kind of stuff. But for however many extra additional support units I'm giving them, I'm going to be giving the Soviets twice as much. And so the Soviet players, they could be bringing in Katyushas, IS-2s. I mean, it could be pretty bad for the Germans. So they are going to be on the defensive for this battle, which gives them a bit of a better fighting chance. But yeah, it's been a long journey working on these. It's taken up a ton of my free time. So what ended up happening was I started working on this, realized I had to start working on Military March, spent a whole bunch of time getting Military March set up, and then went back to working on the board. And now I'm almost at the end of Military March. I have very little content saved up going into April, so I need to go film more content to get April kind of squared away, and then I'll get to be able to go back to working on this. But cutting over here, so this is the next board I'll be working on. Where the river is kind of folded around there, that's going to be the main part of the city, the downtown. I know it kind of extends over the river into this area as well. But yeah, basically what I did for these is I got some just really thin foam insulation from the hardware store. I ended up getting a topographical map of Vitebsk that I was able to use Google Earth to put that as a layer, and then put a picture of the old map that I have so I could kind of figure out where everything was. I didn't map all of the creeks and everything. I guess that's another thing at this scale. Cutting back to the other board here. Yeah, so cutting back to this board here, another thing at this scale, obviously there were a lot more structures in this region than I am portraying. There were a lot of smaller, huts and things scattered around. I think there was actually, getting just south of this board, there was like another factory industrial area down here. But I was trying to simplify this so it's not really like overwhelming or too busy for gameplay or anything like that at this point as well. So that's why it's not quite as busy as it should be. Like, I think this square alone had something like 10 or 15 graveyards on it on the 1940 map. And realistically, I didn't feel like I needed to portray all those. So like I said, not 100% accurate map, but, we're slowly getting there. But yes, that's just kind of an update on this project that I've been working on. Once I get the second board done, I'll be able to kind of bring you guys in, show you those two together. Hopefully that turns out well. I'm very excited to start working on that part. Obviously, I'm going to keep painting away at the miniatures themselves in the meantime as well. And yeah, hopefully my goal when I actually get this game put together, hopefully before the end of the year, is that I'd like to have 3 players representing each side. I have at least 4 of those slots filled, so I'm pretty much at the number of players that I need. I'm going to be functioning as the ref, more or less, kind of arbeiting the rules and things, filming things, talking to the teams. Mostly friends from college, also my good friend Readout Productions, who I work with on a lot of different videos and topics. Definitely go check out his channel as well. So him, one of my other friends from college, have volunteered to portray the German side so far. Another friend from college and his brother have chosen to portray the Soviets. And then, 2 more slots I'd like to fill. And then, basically everybody's going to come out here for a weekend. We'll start do all the pre-planning and stuff Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday hopefully be able to fight through the entire battle that we're going to do. But yeah, it'll be our first time playing through this rule system too, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If this is something you're interested in, you want to see more of, definitely let me know. If you'd rather I just stick to the death cards and strictly militaria content, let me know that as well. Because if this is something you guys really aren't interested in, I'll still do it with my friends just to hang out, but I probably won't be posting updates or things like that, if there's really no interest. But yeah, overall, hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see y'all again very soon.